Our next storyteller is pint-sized, but only on the outside. On the inside, she is filled with so much light and so much strength and so much love that it's hard to imagine it can all fit inside of her. There's nothing more to say. I'm just going to welcome up Heather Pate. So I'm going to start out with a few llama facts. Llamas are gentle, shy, and very curious animals. When one llama has an issue with another llama, it will stick its tongue out to express its displeasure. It will also spit at other llamas. They are willing pack animals, but only to a point. An overloaded llama will simply refuse to move. These animals often lie down on the ground, and they may spit, hiss, or even kick at their owners until their burden is lessened. Llamas are very strong, and they carry heavy weight for long distances. They're very social animals and live with other animals as a herd and alert others to danger. So why the obsession over llamas? I am a peer recovery specialist and co-founder of Robin's Hope, a trauma recovery center for adults. The llama has become our mascot. I never envisioned myself having anything to do with llamas. But here I am, dealing with drama and healing with Brahma, the trauma llama. My purpose and vision for Robin's Hope was to provide a safe space for people to know they're not alone, feel supported, find hope, community, belonging, and build resilience to overcome what life throws at them, because the reality is that this is what I needed. I have dissociative identity disorder, and I fight day to day with masks. Masks saved me, and still to this day. I struggle to allow anyone to see the depth of what's really going on. It takes a lot of effort to be real, even to those closest to me. I talk a lot at Robin's Hope about positive self-talk and finding ways to believe even small truths like, I try hard, or I'm an encourager, to larger things like, I am enough, I am loved, and I am beautiful. The phrase, I am my own worst enemy or my own worst critic, is something many can relate to. What people do not see is that I struggle so much with this concept that it is nearly debilitating. As an only child growing up with 4 parents, I spent a lot of time around adults. I was told I was wise beyond my years. My mom and dad were my world. I only saw my dad one night every 2 weeks, but if he said jump, I said how high, and the same for my mom. I craved their love and acceptance, so much so, I would do anything for it. I was super compliant and did my best to be on my best behavior. If my mom were to raise her voice or give the look, I felt crushed and scared. I remember at one point visiting a cousin and was told that I should get along with him and have someone to play with so the adults could hang out together. And I found myself in a situation of doing things I should have never had to do. But I did them with very little hesitation, because to me, I had this feeling like maybe it was not okay and either of my parents might be mad. But not going along with it might get me in trouble also. Out of fear and disappointment from my parents, I kept it quiet and went on for several years, getting worse with each visit. And I would and I would forget each visit as it happened. It all ended one day when my dad walked in on an incident, and instead of asking questions, he let me know how ashamed he was of me. I felt I was already trying to prove myself, and this took a whole new level. And then he said that if I misbehaved even once the rest of the trip, he'd tell my mom. And that petrified me into silence. I would invite friends to come stay with me at my dad's house because I was too afraid to be around him alone for fear of the shame. I pushed it as far from my brain as I could. I worked really hard to earn his love. And as I got older, I became one failure after another to him. And I finally came to a point where I was married, making good money with a large company, making a name for myself. Years before, my dad had shared with me some goals he made in his life to help him be successful. And I did what I did best, and I made them my own. As I got older, hold on, this is gonna happen. So this one particular Thanksgiving, I visited my dad. And I'd gotten to a point where I received a paycheck that was twice my age in income. So I was 24 years old, and I had this pay stub that said $4,800 for 1 month. And I came in there, and I threw that pay stub down, so proud of myself because I had accomplished something. And he looked at me in front of family and friends and said, "And to think I thought you would never amount to anything more than a hamburger flipper," and then went on. I realized that nothing would ever change his view of me. I was on a search for love and doing everything I could to earn that love. And at whatever cost it took. It created a monster in my husband who refused to love me when I refused to jump, when he said jump. I eventually pulled myself out of an emotionally abusive marriage, beating myself up for leaving, for not complying with my church elders, for not having enough sex, having chronic pain, not cooking enough, not dressing pretty enough, not getting pregnant, etc. The list goes on. And I went to a 1-bedroom apartment alone, too afraid to love or be loved, and keeping everyone at arm's length. The feeling of rejection and abandonment was crushing, and it felt like it just kept happening over and over again. I live in fear of not measuring up, fear of rejection and abandonment, and of failure. I know I shouldn't feel this way, and that I don't need to, but I can't explain that this happens even out of conscious thought. And today I've gotten to a place where I'm dusting myself off and I'm putting one step in front of the other, when most days I don't even know if or how that will happen. Why? Because one thing Brene Brown has taught me is that the courage is simply in showing up, not that I have to have all the answers. I feel like I am constantly scanning my world and what's appropriate or right in the moment. If others laugh, I laugh. Usually because reality, I don't get the jokes. Or I didn't hear them correctly because I have a hearing problem. Engaging in small talk leaves me quiet. I don't know what to do with people. I go blank in my mind and I don't know what to say. I look around to people and I find ways to compliment them, because these are things that people do and therefore must be socially acceptable. To me, it's all socially awkward. And then the tirade of self-hatred and disgust that lashes out in my head when I don't have that compliment and someone complimented me, or the long silences because I can't seem to engage in a conversation. All the while, the world sees this confident individual smiling in front of them as though she is completely and totally socially acceptable, and nobody sees the struggle inside. When she talks about the struggle, people say she does a great job about talking about it and explaining it. But But it never matters because no one sees it, so they don't get it. Meanwhile, a war is waged inside. And I'm running and trying to plan ahead for each potential barrier because that's what's called responsible in my head. And when I hit these barriers that should have been avoided, I tell myself I'm not responsible enough and I clearly didn't make enough time or priority for the issue. And again, the war wages inside. The war rages a lot and is not usually seen. I live with chronic pain and multiple back problems. I'm here today living 9 years in constant pain. And it took 5 years for someone to look beyond migraines and allergies to actually get to nerve pain. I was so compliant with the doctors until one of them started, I'm going to stand up for myself. He lied in my chart and on testing and then kicked me out of his practice and called me non-compliant. ER visits in agony from a fall and being called a pill seeker. I have had doctor after doctor just tell me nothing can be done in 5 minutes, watch me fall into a puddle of tears, and walk away. I've had tons of diagnoses thrown at me. I'm still trying to find the answers. Years and years of medication and blaming my physical health on my mental health. And I get so worn down that I'm done being compliant and I speak up, and then it goes in one ear and out the other. Then I try again. I find myself trying to advocate for someone to help me advocate for myself. So I speak up and I say I need help. And I'm told, you got this. Or you explain things fine to me. Well, clearly the message isn't getting across because here I am still feeling unheard. I tell myself I can't do this well for others if I can't do it for myself. But then I do for others and I see them get help. And I get angry and frustrated and honestly a little bit jealous. And then the litany of questions internally of what must I be doing wrong? I feel like I seem to have perfected the art of saying so much but nothing at all at the same time. How can so many really not hear me? It may look like a lot of confidence and success on the outside. The inside is so riddled with measuring up to these impossible expectations I've built up for myself that I have a hard time letting just a little bit of positive in. I'm here today because people believe in me, when most of the time I still struggle to see it for myself. I'm so grateful for the people that are speaking life into me. There's a few of them over here, there. I'm so grateful for these people, and their support is helping me find who I am and find that confidence in believing in myself. Reality is, I don't know which way is up, and I drop the ball and I mess up a lot. I have meltdowns, panic, fear, anxiety, flashbacks from my past, tears, anger, the chaos that goes on in my head, the frustration, sadness, despair, and feeling utterly lost. I seriously struggle. If the world sees me as okay, then maybe I will be okay. But the world doesn't usually see behind the scenes, and that is scary and lonely. Thank you.
And all is right with the world. Heather, when you were describing a llama, I thought maybe you were talking about me and I had some sort of weird cross-species thing happening here. Because I remember very well being the person who throws herself on the floor and kicks and spits and sticks out her tongue until, what did you say? Until the discomfort has passed? Just like never happened yet?
I remember that too.
Isn't that funny? It's so funny. He's hilarious.
Where do you think you get it?